What does it take to build a brand that people trust and a team that stays? Our guest, Nathan Chan, has built one of the largest entrepreneurial education platforms, and he's interviewed guests such as Gary Vee, Richard Branson, Mark Cuban, and today is our chance to interview him. In this Lead to Succeed episode, he talks very candidly about the challenges that he faced with burnout and how he managed to snap out of it. He talks about the tough conversations that he's had to handle, and importantly, he talks about the mindset shift that he needed to make to become the leader that he is today. If you're growing a business, this episode is for you. To find out your shortcut to learning how to grow a successful business.
So with that, Nathan, welcome to the podcast. It's a pleasure to have you on. I'll hand over to you if you'd like to expand on that intro and perhaps just kind of give us a flavor for where the idea for Founder initially came from.
Yeah, sure thing. Callum and Rebecca, thank you so much for having me. You know, it's interesting. I love to talk about leadership because in many ways, as we shared offline, I see myself as a developing leader, and it's a skill. As your business grows, it becomes more and more critical. And I've basically broken every rule in the book when it comes to leadership. So I'm excited as we get through this to share some of the stories and the lessons that I've learned. But really, Founder came from this desire to really find out what it takes to build and grow a successful business. I really just wanted to scratch my own itch. I started to hear 12 years ago stories of friends starting online businesses through the power of the internet with no skills or experience whatsoever. And that really piqued my curiosity because at the time I was doing work that I didn't enjoy. I was working in IT support and it just wasn't me. And I used to crawl under people's desks to fix their computers. People used to call me up and ask me to fix their password and they couldn't log in to their computer. And I just felt that I could be and do so much more. I felt this calling. I felt this yearning to do work that I was truly passionate about. And I wasn't getting that in my day job. So I started to hear these stories and I just went on a quest to kind of find out how people were doing it. So I thought, what a cool way to kind of just publish this magazine and share these stories with the world. And that's how it all started, really. I got an interview with Richard Branson in the first 4 months of starting Founder, and the rest was kind of history. And then as time went on, we became much more than a media company and just putting out content. We started to produce a lot of premium content, and then we started Founder Plus, our membership program, a membership platform, and the journey kind of continues. But it all started with this seed and this thought of there is a lot of information out there. What does it really take to start and grow a successful online business? And really, that's what I've been on a quest to really kind of demystify that and show people what it takes through my own experiences, taking people on that journey throughout our interviews, throughout all of our online programs, through our platform, for our all these different methods. I've just kind of really been trying to work it out myself and have worked it out along the way and shared that with people.
It's really fascinating to hear how you actually started Founder. I guess that sort of kickstart you got with the interview with Richard Branson. There was a piece of content I saw, Nathan, where you described yourself as a bit of a practitioner. And obviously starting a business is a really hard thing to do. So I'd be curious to just get your take. What's been the hardest part of getting Founder to where it is today?
Yeah. Look, there's been a lot of hard parts, but if we talk about in the context of leadership, it's finding the right people, right? From my experience, in this day and age, if you're building an online business, you can build a one-person business doing $1 million a year. Now, of course, it takes hard work, grit, lots of lessons, but you can do it yourself with a couple of contractors or freelancers around the world. That is possible. But when you want to go past that, you need to build a team. You can't get past, once you pass that $1 million mark. And for many people, that's like an incredible feat, right? But as time goes on, you really lose that time freedom that perhaps you started the business to obtain in the first place. And you need to find great people around you to get leverage, people that are better than you at certain things, right? Like I'm going round 2 now, just hired my second COO. It's been a crazy journey, right? But in terms of operational capabilities, he puts me to shame. Like people leadership, he puts me to shame. He's been a leader 20, 30 plus years, most of his life, right? So I think that's been one of the most difficult things for me, is finding the right people to surround myself with as I've grown the business, because there's stages to business from my experience, and you've got to get that concept, you've got to get product market fit, you've got to find a product or a service that people want to buy. But then once you've found that, then how do you have a selling system that you can continually crank up? But then you've got fulfillment. You've got these magical things like fulfillment and customer service and customer support, and then marketing, right? You can't do it all. It would be great if you could. And there's things like the internet and AI that gives you a lot more leverage and time back, but you need really strong, capable people. But not just that, people that are values aligned, people that respect you, people that you can trust to hand them their lane, hand them their number, hand them what success looks like, and then have them go on that journey with you. And that's been one of the craziest things that I've recognized and noticed out of all the successful people I've interviewed. I've interviewed, past now over 100 plus billionaires, and everybody looks at the end outcome and they see the interview, they see the star, right? They see the founder or the co-founder of that company. But what people don't see is the incredible team behind them, and the people that were there and probably gone and moved on to bigger and better things that help them to get to that next level. And we only just see the end product. And I think that's been one of the hardest things for me, is finding great people, surrounding myself with great people, but also retaining great people. And that's a skill that not enough people talk about. Like the biggest hack in the world to grow a company is just finding great people and find people that have already done it, and you either hire them or you learn from them. That's all it is. Businesses are built by people. So long-winded way, it's been the people side up.
Awesome. Yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying. And let's dive into those lessons learned and the teams that you've kind of met along the way. What do you think are some of the biggest lessons you've learned from some of those leaders that you've interviewed in regards to leadership?
Yeah, so I think one thing that's really, really key, and I know that sometimes for a beginning founder it can be difficult, is they have their why and their mission and their purpose so incredibly dialed in, right? Like I never forget, I interviewed the the CEO of Shopify, the president of Shopify, and he was like employee number 4 at the company, so he's basically a founder, and now he runs it. And the way that he articulates Shopify's mission and their vision and their purpose around how they help entrepreneurs, how they help founders, and the stories that he can just reel off around how they've actually helped change somebody's life through that platform is incredible, right? And he is effectively an incredible spokesperson for the brand, but then he's a spokesperson to the internal team, right? That's how he motivates people. That's how he gets people to come on that journey. And that's how he communicates the mission. And that seeps throughout the marketing, throughout the product, throughout the customer, voice of the customer, like all these different things. So I think the first thing, and it sometimes can be difficult because I know with an early stage founder, sometimes it can be quite a selfish pursuit. You want to create a business for yourself to get that time freedom back, to be able to make more money, to be able to make more income, to be able to build your wealth. However, it's really about the service of others, that once you really, really get that truly articulated, then you can really capture people and you can win hearts and minds. So that's one thing that I've noticed. Really successful founders, they've got a really dialed in vision and purpose behind what they do, and they can articulate it extremely clearly. The second thing is they have incredible grit. The stories that they tell are stories that many people, if they heard it and they just walked in to running a business, they wouldn't be able to cope. They'd give up. But there's levels, right? There's levels. Like, Richard Branson runs, I think, upwards of 100 plus companies, but in terms of being involved in the day-to-day and the amount of pressure and stress, he's living a pretty carefree life, right?
Yeah.
But he didn't just walk into that. That's taken 30, 40, 50 years of experience and just building up, those levels. Like, when you play a game and you've got your experience level and then you got to beat the next boss and then it gets harder and harder and harder, you can't go to the last boss straight off. It's the exact same thing when it comes to pressure and stress and the ability to take on more. I never forget in the early days, like a founder, somebody said to me, I was feeling stressed out and overwhelmed. And somebody said to me, "Oh, Nathan, it's funny, right? Where, sometimes when you're feeling that pressure and that stress and that overwhelm, what actually happens off the back of it is you get the opportunity to expand and take on more, right?" And I think what you find is when you speak to really, really successful leaders and people that have been in the game for a long time, they've seen it all, right? And I think that's a rite of passage as well. And then the last one is, I guess, get really dialing in that people, having a talent wait list, just having an environment that is infectious, right? Having a really dialed in company culture, which attracts great talent, retains great talent, knowing who they are, getting the best of the best coming to work for them. Like that's how you get a competitive advantage, right? Like that is how you build an iconic business. And that's what a lot of these founders have. They have iconic businesses where everyone is on the bus. They know why they're on the bus. They believe where the bus is going or where the ship is going, and they're top tier talent and they love being there and they're challenged and they're rewarded. And that's the tough stuff. And that stuff, it's easy to talk about, but in practice, it's so hard to build. And I'm in motion building it, right? Like I'm in motion building. I haven't built an iconic business with developing leaders everywhere I look, right? Like that's what I'm working towards, and that's what these guys have.
Well, I think with those posters on the background behind you, you're well on your way there.
It's a lot of work, man, but we're getting there.
I 100% agree with you. I think all of your points, but specifically culture, I think that can really make or break how much you enjoy your role and your career. What do you think companies need to focus on, Nathan, to really build that sort of strong, as you say, kind of infectious culture within their business?
Well, I think it starts with the behaviors, right? It starts with your values. What are you willing to promote and endorse, and what are you not willing to? And it starts with the leader, right? Leadership rises and falls. It starts with the person at the top. What are you going to endorse? What are you going to encourage? What are you going to reward? What are you going to incentivize? What are you going to promote? But it's about the people, right? Businesses are built by people. So if you have that operating system around, this is our code, this is what we love, this is what we don't love, and we reward what people are doing that we love, those behaviors, and where there's perhaps even sometimes consequences for when people are not working towards those behaviors or not living those behaviors, and people are exited if they're not living those behaviors, then that's how you start to build a culture. But that's where it starts. It starts with the top, it starts with the behaviors, and then it starts living that, right? And then it's about building trust. I think that's a really easy thing to say, difficult thing to do. Having a team where everyone trusts each other and having a team where they're not competing against each other, right? Having a team where everyone respects each other, right? Like these are things that I talk about so freely, but I'm saying firsthand in practice, it is so difficult to achieve, right? And having people that are capable, right? Having the right capabilities, it's so difficult because from my experience, there's certain levels, right? So when you build a business to a certain point, oftentimes the people that got you there to that next point, they don't have the capabilities, and being able to identify and being able to move people on that the business has outgrown them. Yeah. Right. So there's it's just a constant working beast, right? That's what it is. It's constantly working, right? It's constantly shifting it. It's constantly moving it, and it's being adaptable. But I think those are some of the key things.
I'd like to pick up on a couple of those, Nathan. And the first one is your point about having trust. It's having trust with your team, with your customers, with your clients, with your suppliers. How do you build trust? Could you give us kind of 3 very practical tips that perhaps other leaders and entrepreneurs and founders listening to this podcast could actually tangibly go away and implement about building
Yeah.
trust in your team?
Yeah, so I think the from my experience, and I'll probably now just down to one, because there's just
Okay.
one that
Yeah.
really, like, I try and focus on. I'm not the best at it, but I try and, like, bring it forward. Even talking about it now is a good thing. The biggest way to build trust is just being vulnerable, having those real conversations, right? The real conversations. That's all it is from my experience. Feedback, difficult conversations, right? Being open, being honest, being vulnerable. Those real conversations is what moves things forward. That's how you build an environment where there is not fear of conflict,
Yeah.
right? You can respect somebody and you can have an open and honest conversation saying, hey, I don't agree with that. Or, hey, if you're, hey, I need to give you this feedback. This is an area of development, an area of opportunity to develop, right? So that's the number one. It's the conversations. It's the real conversations. You have to have real conversations constantly. And it's tough and it's uncomfortable.
It is uncomfortable.
It's the only way that you build trust, from my experience. And through building that trust, you build that relationship. And through building that relationship, you get speed. Right? And that's how organizations win. Now, I make no claim to working all of this out myself. I've had incredible leadership coaches, right? One, Gary Dooley, right? A fantastic leadership coach. Spent a lot of times. He lives in Sydney, actually. Yeah, I should introduce you guys. Yeah. And so he lives in Sydney. He's worked with a lot of sports teams and high performing athletes, and he really helps teams. He's the teams guy. And he's the person that taught me that quite a few years ago on trust. It's all about those real conversations.
Agree with you on that, Nathan. And it's something that I learned the hard way, was that when you have to have those really tough conversations, you should have them sooner rather than later. And especially when you have people the business has outgrown them. And I think that's one of the toughest conversations to have, especially if they've been with you and helped you develop and grow the business. So how do you address those really tough conversations? I agree, it's about being honest, but they're still difficult. And one of the things I did, I just left it too long to have them.
Yeah, I'm the same. Most people are the same. It's always too late. And unfortunately, like a lot of these things, it's just a rite of passage, right? It is just a rite of passage. Thankfully, now I'm in a position where right now I've only got 2 direct reports, COO and CFO. And that's something I've identified. Like, if I'm going to be honest with you guys, I've identified that I'm not the best at people leadership and day-to-day operations, right? Where my strength is on product and marketing. And that's my zone of genius. And so I think, going back to your question, Rebecca, I don't know if there's a right answer, because from my experience, I've always had them too late. I'm, a very loyal person. If somebody's helped me build the business, I feel a tremendous amount of guilt, right? And I've left it where it's just beyond the point, right? And I think that's what happens. I think the sooner that you know that it's not working, and the sooner you start to even have conversations saying, hey, it's not working. And it comes down to measurement, right? It comes down to what success looks like. Everyone knows. Like, if you clearly articulate what success looks like, and then you cascade it down, and then everyone has their lanes as you start to grow the business, they will know, right? Like, people will know. And so it shouldn't be a surprise. And then if you know it's not a surprise and you've set up the right structures, then it should be an easier conversation, but it's not. It just isn't. It's just really hard. And that's the tough thing about leadership. It's a very lonely path. It truly is. And especially when you're a solo founder, that's something as well a lot of people don't talk about, right? A lot of successful founders, they have co-founders. It's very, very rare that you see a super successful founder that's a solo founder. Jeff Bezos is a great example. He's a solo founder. But it's very difficult you'll see, oftentimes it's a squad of 2 or 3, because they all have complementary skill sets, right? I love the Steve Jobs and the Steve Wozniak, hacker and hustler, right? Steve Jobs was the hustler, right? He was the marketing guy. He was the product guy. And then Steve Wozniak was the hacker. He was the guy that built it all. He was your technical lead, right? And he really, Steve Jobs over time became a great leader, but some would say he wasn't, right? And he didn't have a great, in the early days, that's for sure, he didn't have a great operations leader around him. And that's why I think he got himself into a lot of trouble. Point is, I think leadership is a lonely journey, and especially as a solo founder, it's an incredibly lonely journey.
On that note, though, Nathan, on that lonely journey, you in 2021 faced a challenging time yourself, and you lost a little bit of motivation for what you were doing. Am I correct with that?
Yeah, 100%.
So how did you overcome that? Because resilience is such an important aspect of growing a business and developing a team and all the rest of it. How did you cope with that in 2021? How did you find that resilience? What did you need to change? Just a little bit more about that story.
Yeah, so early 2021, COVID was good to basically every online business. If you had an online business during COVID, at first it was scary and you saw the numbers drop in March as soon as COVID hit. But then April, you really start to see a rapid climb. And literally for us, we're very paid advertising heavy. We basically doubled our monthly revenue, I'd say, in about 3 to 4 months. And it was crazy, right? It was crazy. And for whatever reason, everyone thought it was never going to end, or you were in this pattern where it felt like it was never going to end. That's the key word, felt. And so I went on an absolute hiring spree, and I was just working overtime. And by the end of COVID, well, not even the end, by the start of 2021, I was cooked. And I'd never experienced this before, but I started to wake up in the middle of the night with my heart beating really fast. It took me a while to work it out. I'm like, why is this happening? Business is good. I shouldn't, team is great. They're hitting record numbers. I don't understand why I'm feeling this way. And I remember saying to one of my coaches at the time, I said, mate, I'm not in a good place. My head's not straight. I don't even want to go to work. And I was feeling like we had quarterly strategy days for our company, and I didn't even want to go, right? And I was like, there's something not right here. And so I went on this quest of really deep self-discovery to work out what was wrong with me. And it took me a couple of weeks. Funnily enough, I didn't realize straight away I was burnt out because I'd never been burnt out before. And what I realized is I was burnt out. And, I went and started seeing a therapist, and I went and started speaking to somebody. I did float tanks. I invested in my health and fitness because I really let myself go. I started meditating again. I stopped meditating for a long time. I got an assistant. I actually started to get more leverage. I had a first cut of building my leadership team. And that was in of itself was a crazy journey. And I'm on to round 3 now. But yeah, look, it was a really weird time, but I learned a lot about self-care. And I guess the number one thing that I can share that I took away from that whole experience is after about 3 or 4 months, I felt I got myself to a better place. But what I took away from that experience was you can have all the success in the world, money, accolades, notoriety, attention, building your business to your wildest dreams. Everyone's looking up at you, and, you're admired by your peers, and all these fantastic things, all these things that we tell ourselves when we get there, it'll feel this way. You can have all that, but it doesn't mean anything, and it's absolutely worthless if you don't have your mental health. If you don't have that in check, if you don't want to go to work, you actually don't feel excited about work anymore. And that's what happened to me. And it was a really weird experience. And I'm very grateful and thankful that I was able to overcome that over a 3 to 4 month period. And I'm very grateful and thankful that I had a capable team that were able to keep running things without my involvement nowhere near as much.
What mindset shifts did you have to make during that time, Nathan?
I think it was less of an obsession and an extreme focus and at all costs, whatever I was doing, towards founder. And it had to be a shift towards Nathan. And what I come to realize in that journey is Nathan is founder and founder is Nathan. And that was the mindset shift.
What I'd love to ask you, Nathan, and thank you for sharing. That's obviously kind of one of the the toughest times, I would presume, of Founder. And what does the future of Founder look like? You've taken it from success to success. It's grown to, a very successful brand. What does 2025 have in store for Founder?
Yeah, for us, it's going to be a lot of growth, really just investing in capability, investing in our team. That's where it's at. Like, how do we invest in capability? How do we invest in team and new products? I can't share what products, but just keep doubling down on the products that we have. We've simplified the whole business model. We used to have like 30, 40 different courses. Now we just have one, which is our membership. And then we have a coaching arm of the business. We'll continue to double down. For us, it's really focused, doing more of what's working, more content, keep putting out more quality content, more shows. For me as well, I'm going to have a really strong focus on my personal brand, putting out a lot more content, showing more behind the scenes, showing actually how I'm building this business. That's a big focus. But in regards to Founder, it's just doubling down on the team, doubling down on capability, doubling down on showing behind the scenes, building relationships with more people in our community at scale.
Exciting times ahead by the
Yeah, super exciting. I'm super pumped. Where it's been a rocky, wild journey these past 12 years, but it's been amazing.
But that's how we grow, and that's how you've grown Founder, which is a phenomenal achievement. Full congratulations to you on what you've achieved, Nathan.
Thank you so much. Look, it's like I said before. You see the person behind, like that's at the front. Right. Yeah. But I've been lucky over time to build an incredible team, and I'm still building an incredible team, and it's still chopping and changing. But there's been people that have come and gone within this business that have really helped grow it.
Yeah.
As we draw to a close, I'd like to ask you one last question, Nathan. My understanding is you set Founder up to sort of demystify success stories, interview successful entrepreneurs, and kind of build out an education for aspiring entrepreneurs. What sort of 3 key pieces of advice would you give to any aspiring entrepreneurs or leaders listening to this podcast today how they can get started on that entrepreneurial leadership journey?
Yeah, I think the first thing is, even if you haven't launched your business yet, you need to surround yourself with great people. Mm-hmm. Like people that you speak to, people that you see every single day, right? Like they say that you're the average of the 5 people you spend most of your time with. That couldn't be further from the truth. And then the second thing is find people that have already done it, right? Find people that have built the business that you want to build and learn from them however you can, whether that can be through podcasts, online courses, programs, coaching, whatever it is. That's one of the greatest hacks in life, learning from people that have already done it. And if you can, hire them at any capacity. And then the last one, which I wish I had have done more of, is just try and have more fun. And I know it's easier to say, like when you look back and you have these nostalgic feelings, like doing podcasts like this and talking about the journey, it's been a wild ride and it's been fun, but I wish I had more fun. Like I could have had way more fun, and it didn't have to be that stressful. Like you put so much pressure on yourself. And I think that's the message, really. Like, you don't need to put so much pressure on yourself. Like if you're in a day job, that's fine. Like honestly, that is fine. Just build your business slowly on the side. Like there is no rush, right? Everybody wants everything yesterday, and it just takes time. And practicing and cultivating that patience has been a really, really, really big thing for me. Even now, I have to really and it's something I've grown to learn to be patient and play the long term. So at Founder now, we don't just play short term. We've got short, medium, and long term plays that are in motion. And the longest term plays yield the highest levels of growth. But we want the short terms yesterday, and we want them, and we tell ourselves, yeah, that's what's going to give us short term, because everyone wants it yesterday. But it's usually the longer term plays that just work out.
We've covered so much on this podcast, Nathan. You've shared so openly, and thank you very much for that. I've just made a short list of a summary of all the things that we've talked about, from finding the right people, having an incredible team, values and trust, the importance of that, self-care, having fun, having the right culture, having grit and determination. Just some of the topics that we've covered. It's been a phenomenal podcast with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there anything that you would like to share with our audience and our viewers and our listeners where they can get in touch with you, find out more about Founder? Where would you like to direct them, or anything you'd like to add?
Oh, look, we have a podcast too. Love for you to subscribe. Check us out. Please do check out the show. We're here to help serve you however we can. If you want to start or grow an online business, we're here to serve you, especially in the e-commerce space. And, sign up to our membership. It's only $1 to trial it out. It's a no-brainer. We go out and find some of the best founders out there and we get them to teach and give back on our platform. We're growing it and doing everything we can to make it the most cutting edge platform out there. So thank you.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Nathan.
Yeah, Nathan, and for me as well, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed our conversations. Yeah, a big thank you from me too.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me, guys. Absolute pleasure.